so fresh, looking so fresh. When I walk by, breaking their necks. Waiting in line at the team store. Now I'm feeling fly like a condor. Eyes on me when I walk through the door. Man, I wish I bought a couple more. Cause I really love my city. It was worth every penny. If it were at my show, then I know they gon' tip me. Think I might add a couple patches. If you think it's ugly, you capping. Now my whole outfit matching. Never going out of fashion.
What's up, everybody? Welcome, episode 650, Talking Friars podcast and YouTube show. Ben Fadden with you here on October 21st, 2024. Hopefully, everybody is doing well. Obviously, we have a World Series matchup. I can get into that here in a little bit, but the main topic of this show, AJ Preller, he spoke to the media earlier today in the morning via Zoom, not at the ballpark, but via Zoom, discussing the end of this season and what is to come. He was asked about Mike Shildt, Ruben Niebla, possible extensions there. Asked about some free agents and the luxury tax. Are they open to going over? So he gave his, AJ Preller answers. And going into this, I wasn't expecting much. I was hoping that, there'd be a Mike Shildt extension. Mike Shildt would hop on and surprise, we have an extension, or Ruben Niebla would hop on and surprise, there's an extension. But that did not happen. It was pretty much just answering but not answering. And as a GM, that's what you're supposed to do, right? You're not supposed to give up a bunch of information. And these end of season pressers, it's well, the next couple of weeks, and this was a lot of his answers. The next couple of weeks, we'll sit down, have those conversations. We'll see what happens. And that's the answers. Those are the answers we should have expected going into this. But I will play some sound, courtesy of 97.3 The Fan, of some of the answers that AJ gave, and then I will see any information, review any information that maybe stuck out or information I should at least mention on the show. I will obviously get to the chat. Any comments, questions, feel free to put those in the chat. I already see here from Diego, what's happening, Ben? Please tell me you're not going to watch this World Series, LOL. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I'm not going to watch a single pitch. I'm not going to I am telling the truth when I say I'm not going to be locked in on it. I'm not going to watch every pitch of it because I just don't like watching the Dodgers. If they're not playing the Padres, I don't like watching that team because I hate the Dodgers. Now, the NLCS, it was really easy for me to not watch that because I was locked into the WNBA Finals. That was freaking entertaining. I was locked in. I did not watch the NLCS game last night with the Dodgers. Did not watch it. I was watching the Liberty and the Lynx. Game 5, winner take all, winner wins the championship. And I was happy that, well, look, either team that would have won that, for any WNBA fans, either team there that would have won that, I would have been fine with. I loved watching the Lynx play. I love watching Nafisa Collier. That team is fun. The defense, the ball movement. The Liberty, though, I love Sabrina Ionescu. She's my favorite player. So it was awesome getting to see her. Not a great performance, shooting-wise, obviously, but it was awesome to see her get that championship finally. But that's obviously another sport. But that just was part of my answer because, NLCS-wise, yeah, it was very easy for me not to watch that. World Series, I guess I could watch, the NBA. But still. Dodgers, Yankees, it's still entertaining. If you take the Padres fan out of it for me, and it's hard for me to do that, obviously, it's still going to be entertaining to watch. And yes, I will be rooting for the Yankees, obviously. Let's go Tim Hill and Trent Grisham and Juan Soto. There was also the conversation on social media that happened when Soto hit that go-ahead homer to help clinch that World Series berth for the Yankees, first time since, 2009, so it's actually been a while. There was the conversation about did the Yankees now officially win that trade with the Padres? And I disagree with whoever thinks that. And I'm planning on having Jim Russell on the show later this week, so stay tuned for that. I'm sure we'll get into that then, but no, I disagree with that, to be honest, because it's not just about this year. That I'll spoil that part of the answer. That's part of my answer, part of my reasoning why. But let's get into AJ Preller's comments here, and then obviously I'll get into the chat here in a little bit. But AJ Preller's opening statement, again, courtesy of 97.3 The Fan, from today's end of season press conference.
We were playing baseball at this point in time. Felt like we had a team that obviously was capable of playing until the very end. But overall, through this week and with a chance to reflect a little bit, obviously a very good season for our big league team, for the organization. A lot of credit, going out to a lot of different people. We've got a great organization, and I think from top to bottom this year, through baseball operations, our scouts, our player development group, they constantly, one of the best scouting and player development groups in the game, give us a ton of options and flexibility. And seeing young players come through the system, there's nothing better than that. And our group has done a great job from that standpoint. Our front office and analysts, like going through the offseason and looking to kind of retool this team. You need people that are constantly very accurate in their assessments and their evaluations, and feel like I get great information from that group constantly. Obviously, seeing a new manager with Mike Shildt, he'd been in the organization for a few years, and we knew what he was capable of. But seeing the way the staff and Mike led this team on the field was a lot of fun to be a part of. I thought the staff was extremely tight. We had staff members that came from the system. We had staff members that had been on our previous big league staffs and teams, and then had some experienced guys that came in from outside. And I think Mike being able to blend and get those guys together on the same page and getting our team to play at a really high level, a lot of credit goes there. Again, for me personally, obviously, from like a lot of emotion, going into the year, I think just trying to kind of fulfill Peter Seiler and the legacy that he put out there for the entire organization, what this is about. I think it was a big motivator for everybody. We have a very motivated group, but I think, making sure that we went out and kind of fulfilled that legacy and played well. That was definitely something in the back of everybody's mind all the time. All
right. So that's what I've got there. Opening statement, again, thanks to 97.3 The Fan for posting that. I was listening live, actually, on 97.3 The Fan as well during this Zoom conference. And so I just want to go through some of the stuff here, maybe any notable. Look, there is, and I'm going to repeat this. I kind of mentioned it earlier, but there wasn't any big news that came out of this presser today. This Zoomer, or whatever you want to call it, the Zoom conference. It was, we're going to have conversations. That's pretty much what it was. And again, I wasn't super surprised by this because it's October 21st. The month of November is when we might start to hear more stuff. I think the GM meetings, either early December or at some point in November. I forget the exact date for those GM meetings, but AJ did mention that that's when really things start to get going about real conversations between teams about potential trades, stuff like that. He did mention that he's been in contact with some agents of Padre players, talking about the potential of extensions, but that's pretty much the big thing that was mentioned by AJ in terms of potential extensions. He obviously touched on Shildt, touched on Niebla, which I'll get to here in a little bit. I'm just reading through 97.3 The Fan's tweets because they do a really good job of just tweeting out what AJ Preller says and summarizing all of this so that we don't have to replay the entire conference here. If you want to go watch it, or listen to it, I should say, you can go to 97.3 The Fan's, I think, Annie and Elston YouTube live stream and then replay it there. It started a little bit after 11 a.m. The first question was from Kevin Acey about the 24 scoreless inning drought. AJ says that part of the explanation of the 24 inning scoreless drought was a small sample size, just 2 games. He credited the Dodgers pitching staff, but they'll try and learn from this experience as a group. And yeah, he made a good point about, an 0 for 8 in the regular season and that in the postseason. Those are two different things, 0 for 8 in the postseason, we start the narratives of like, oh, he's not a postseason performer. But then 0 for 8 in the regular season, no one talks about it, right? I understand us talking about it in the postseason. Like, I'm not saying we shouldn't talk about it, but I think we should remember that that's 2 games. And the majority of the games the Padres played in the postseason, they actually did do well. They did score enough runs, obviously, in the majority, most of the games. And I say that because, yes, they didn't have great performances in the last 2 games there. But, and I'm going back, I just want to double check so I'm not giving you guys false information here on the amount of runs scored here. So game 5 was on Friday? Yeah. So obviously nothing in game 5, nothing in game 4 that was on that Wednesday. But if we go to the games before that, the Padres, they scored 6 runs in game 3. In game 2, they scored 10 runs. In game 1, they scored 5 runs. There's a lot of teams in baseball that, you would take those run totals in the majority of the series. And yeah, you obviously fall flat in the final 2 games, but they did score runs there. That's also what made it so disappointing was they scored 5+ runs in those games, and they just couldn't find a way to get 3 out of 5 there. It's just that really game 1 there, that homer to Ohtani, that obviously really sucked because you had a 3-0 lead, you had a 5-3 lead, and then you allow that to go away, obviously. Jackson Merrill, should he have dove for that ball in center? There was the pass ball / wild pitch, whatever you want to call it, with, I want to say it was Morahone pitching, with Higgy behind the plate. Just little things like, oh man, if you could have had those back, right? Obviously the last 2 games of the series, games 4 and 5, really game 5, you could point to not the best of at-bats from some guys, in my opinion. And then Nando hit it hard, but it was on the ground and it was hit to someone on that one opportunity that they had with the runner in scoring position, right? It was first and second, I think, in that 3rd inning, and grounds into a double play, and that's really that. And the Padres obviously don't score. So, AJ's point about it being the essentially, small sample size, it's an 0 for 8 from some guys. Like, I think it's okay for the Padres to not overreact to that. And I feel like we're going to ride with pretty much the same group next year. And offensively, to be honest, I'm okay with that. Yeah, you need more out of Bogaerts, and maybe we shouldn't be wishing that because he's only getting older and he's not known for his power, if we're being honest, right? He can hit home runs. But if you go look at the track record with the Red Sox, what were people talking about? It was more of, or at least what stood out to me, was more, oh, he hit 300 in, I think, 3 of the 4 seasons before 2023 when he signed with the Padres. And we haven't gotten back to that. I want to see a full season of Xander Bogaerts being healthy, right? Nando, obviously, I'm good with. Merrill, obviously, I'm good with. Manny, obviously, I'm good with. Crony, I think there's still something there, just like I still think there's something there with Bogey. Bogey, by the way, he came up with some big hits in the postseason. I don't want to forget that and act like everything was a failure there with him. Higgy, as a bridge to Salas, I feel like that may be the best option. I'm not super blown away by any of the free agent catchers out there. Profar, obviously, I'd be fine with him in left field. Teoscar Hernandez. We'll talk about this more, obviously, once the offseason actually gets going. But Teoscar Hernandez, I'm not thinking that's very realistic to go sign him when he just played for the Dodgers, and maybe the Dodgers would be willing to give him more money, or another team would be willing to give him more money. Like, what would the Padres be actually willing to give someone like Teoscar Hernandez? How much of an upgrade are other guys like a Jesse Winker, if they even want Jesse Winker on the team? Who else? Tommy Pham, I think, is going to be out there. Would it just make more sense to bring back Profar? Profar, he fits this team, right? There's no doubt about that. So I know I kind of went a little all over the place there, but those are some of my thoughts there. Let's see here. Preller says the Padres have a really good foundation of core players that will be returning, and they'll learn and grow from what they learned this season. He has a lot of faith in his players, coaches, and front office staff. He just began, this is about Shildt, just began conversations with Eric Kutsenda and Eric Grupner about Mike Shildt's future and about rewarding people who perform. He added they'll have more discussions in the coming weeks about Mike Shildt and his coaching staff. So pretty much what I was expecting. Obviously, the Padre fan in me was hoping that, they'd be able to hammer this out already, but we do got to remember it's October 21st. They're not in a rush, right? The only rush they're in is to keep Niebla here, right? Because his contract's actually up, where Mike Shildt, his contract's not up. So if I know anything about Mike Shildt, he's probably saying, don't worry about me. Don't talk to me about a contract until you have Ruben Niebla locked up. Now, other teams, and I would not blame other teams for doing this, they may go ask. They don't have to ask permission actually from the Padres. I think starting November 1st, when I think the contract would be officially up, I think they end at the end of October. They don't have to ask permission if Ruben Niebla isn't signed, to an extension, if he isn't signed to a new contract. So I feel like there's an urgency to get it done by then. If it's done by then, another team can still go ask permission. What the Padres may do is give him a new contract. I wonder, like I tweeted this out earlier today, I wonder if they would make Ruben Niebla manager in waiting. Remember how San Diego State basketball, in I think 2011, they made Brian Dutcher the head coach in waiting under Steve Fisher. And Dutch ended up being the head coach in waiting for, I think, 6 more years after that. So it's not like it was 2 years and then he's done. No, it was a significant period of time there where he was just still the head coach in waiting. But maybe that prevented other programs from going and getting Brian Dutcher. It allowed Brian Dutcher to be like, all right, this program believes in me, and I'm going to be the guy here. And with Ruben Niebla, if they do that same thing, then I don't know would Ruben Niebla go to another spot to be a manager right now if he is named manager in waiting by the Padres. You could make him associate manager, don't they? They used to do that, right? Wasn't Skip Schumacher associate manager at one point? They could do that. I don't think Mike Shildt, I don't think it's an ego thing where like Mike Shildt would be like, no associate manager. I have to only be the manager title. Don't get me wrong. I am not trying to say like I want Mike Shildt out. I definitely don't. I love Mike Shildt. He's the right guy. But Ruben Niebla is younger, and at some point, Shilt's not going to be the manager. So, and I think that Ruben Niebla would be able to be a good one. So, and we know what he's done with the pitching staff too. And you can have other guys around to help with hitting and help with everything else. And he's right there with Mike Shildt the entire game for 162 plus games. He's in meetings, all that. So I'm pretty sure, he's getting good experience about game planning and how to approach that, right? So I'm not sitting here worried about that. I'm just worried about keeping Ruben Niebla. I think it's going to happen, but I'm just saying, I think if they don't get it done by the end of October, another team doesn't have to ask permission because Ruben would be a free agent, and they could just go interview Ruben for the next manager job, right? Who's out? What manager vacancies? I don't know if Niebla would want to go to the White Sox, but I think the White Sox are one. The Marlins are one. The Reds hired Terry Francona. We were definitely not expecting that, but so they're filled. I'm probably blanking on another vacancy, but those are the ones that stick out that I remember off the top of my head right now. Continuing to go through here, let's see. No surprise here. Preller says there will be player evaluations and conversations about internal options as well as the trade market when asked about replacing Joe Musgrove in the rotation next year. There's been basic conversations with agents about extending or re-signing players who are entering the final year of their deal or for agency to get a feel for what their clients are looking for. Those discussions will pick up over the next few weeks. And I mentioned that earlier. So there's no, again, there wasn't like any big surprise, anything said here from AJ here today. I would expect to hear more though, and this is just opinion. And, Dennis Lynn did write about it briefly. Michael King, Jackson Merrill, I would expect to hear, hey, they're having conversations or there's more interest. I assume there's interest on Jackson Merrill's side, but he's not just going to go take $100 million. As much as he loves this team, he's not just going to take $100 million. I doubt that. Michael King, we'll see. I wonder what that number would possibly look like there. Luis Ariz could be another one. Now, I wonder, because he's due for 13 mil or something this year, 14 mil. What if they signed him to a deal and I wonder if they could restructure the deal so they take the arbitration year out. I think they could take the arbitration year out and give him maybe less money this year to help, construct 2025's team, I should say, not this year, but, next season. Less money this year, but he gets a deal, a good deal for him where it's more total, obviously, but it lowers the AAV. Seems like he really loves being here. I still value what Luis Ariz can bring to this Padres team. So maybe we see something like that. If the Padres don't want to pay him, 14 mil, something like that for 2025. Because Fangraphs, his value, what is it called? The dollar, Fangraphs value dollar metric, whatever. They said that he was worth, I think, less than $9 million this year. So, we don't know what his 2025 is going to look like, but that would technically be an overpay if we're basing it off of what he just did. But he was also hurt, and he's had the surgery, so that's good news. But it feels like a trade is even on his mind because he mentioned it after the season ended at Dodger Stadium. Hopefully he doesn't get traded is what he was saying, but he even mentioned that he mentioned a possible trade. So we've got to think about that. Preller says that they'll look into payroll expectations for 2025 in the coming months, and that ownership has always been supportive. Right now, they're evaluating the landscape and what paths the team can take, but he emphasized they're here to win a championship. He also mentioned the word responsible about, payroll, which, the Padres, they have to be. They don't have the big TV deal, right? They lost money there. Sure, they got money from, the postseason revenue this year, but obviously they didn't get anything from 2023. And maybe that postseason revenue, don't know how much it was, but maybe that's more to, okay, now we're going to further stabilize. All right. Or maybe now we're stabilized with all departments in the organization, not, hey, we're in surplus, let's go spend. I hope the payroll increases a little bit, but the good news is I see Roki Sasaki, I think, was in the chat here. Devin mentioned him here. The good news there is if he does come over, it would be like Shohei Ohtani with the Angels. It wouldn't be Shohei Ohtani with the Dodgers or Yamamoto with the Dodgers where it's $300 million. It would be way less, significantly less, because I think it's something where like a Japanese player, if they go over early, they can't make as much as Yamamoto did. Yamamoto waited. If Sasaki would wait more, I forget how long, but if he would wait more and he doesn't come over, then he could get a Yamamoto contract. But he's talented for sure. I was listening the other day to Jeff Passan talking about him. AJ Preller said Jackson Merrill's immediate success will not impact how quickly they promote other prospects. They'll evaluate each prospect's readiness on an individual basis. No surprise there. Not everyone is Jackson Merrill. Jackson Merrill is one of a kind. You know, he is special. That's not every prospect. Just because they're talented does not mean that they're always going to be ready. Doesn't mean that they're going to be Jackson Merrill mature, you know, first year in the big leagues. Obviously, they're looking to bring Niebla back. They'll explore the shortstop situation over the next few weeks. Remember, there is a mutual option with Ha-Seong Kim, I think for $8 million. I expect him to decline it. The Padres would take it, probably, just to have that option. And $8 million isn't that much. That's pretty much what they've been paying Kim this entire time anyway, through this 4-year contract. I know Kim is not going to be ready. It doesn't seem like he's going to be ready for spring training or, you know, for opening day. He may not even start throwing at the start of spring training. We'll see there. He may be with the Giants by then, though. You know, I don't think a mutual option is happening. I would think that Kim, even with this year that he had, even with the injury, I still think he would take the out. He would get $2 million, by the way, on the buyout, unless I'm reading that wrong. I saw that there's a $2 million buyout, which doesn't make sense to me if the Padres want to bring him back, but then Kim chooses to not take that option, the mutual option. Why do the Padres have to give him $2 million still? To me, the Padres should only have to give $2 million to Kim if the Padres say no. You know? But yeah, that's what we got. Mutual option. I expect Kim to just go be a free agent here. And the Padres probably would wait and see. They probably wouldn't pounce on him. They'd probably wait. Okay, what's the best offer? What are the Giants offering? Don't know if the Dodgers would be on him, in on him. Would they? I mean, because Tommy Edman, look what he's doing. Or Willie Adames is out there. You know, the Dodgers could go there. So we'll see. The Giants, obviously, though, are an obvious connection, though, because of Jung-Hoo Lee. Their shortstop situation isn't great. I think they have a young shortstop there, but it's not like he's Ellie De La Cruz or Fernando, you know, where we saw the talent, obviously, in that rookie season. You know, I could be wrong. You know, Giants fans, if there's any Giants fans that are listening here, at shortstop, they have Tyler Fitzgerald, who is actually pretty good this year. He's probably like top 5 maybe in rookie voting. I think he's a rookie. Yeah. 15 homers, 280 average. So he wasn't that bad. But I think they would definitely still take Ha-Seong Kim. Again, I just wonder, it's probably not going to be 100 million. I mean, yeah, I'd be surprised if it's 100 million. I know Jung-Hoo Lee just, you know, got that, and he hadn't played in the big leagues yet. And Kim's proven that he can play in the big leagues. But he did take a step back this year offensively. He did. And then there's the question mark about coming off the shoulder. The torn labrum surgery, I think, is what it is. So that's obviously going to be discussed here in the offseason. Yeah, he had that surgery 10 days ago. There have been different timelines for him to begin a throwing program. AJ said it doesn't look like he'll be ready for the start of spring training. Someone asked AJ about the whole Padre-Dodger NLDS and the drama there and the Dodgers with their gamesmanship and some of the comments, the attacking comments. Well, also Ken Rosenthal's comments, I think, was what that question was sort of, you know, trying to get AJ to talk about there. And AJ didn't take the bait. Just talking about how it's really good for baseball, like the drama there and the rivalry, the interest in Japan. He said the expectations for Xander Bogaerts is that he has a lot of good baseball left and players may underperform over small stretches, but they're glad he's coming back and expect him to be an all-star caliber player. He did mention, like, hey, if the Padres want to get to where they want to go, we expect, Xander to be, essentially, not quoting him, but we expect Xander to be a big part of that. And we expect him to perform. We hope he can perform at a all-star level, get back to being that. For that to happen, he's going to have to stay healthy, though. Like, he had, coming off the IL, he had a high average. He was hitting over 400 in a span. Since coming off the IL, he was getting on base all the time. Wasn't hitting for power, but it was a lot of singles, and that can still help the team. His outs above average were actually, I think, pretty good. I'm doing my, and I'll do season reviews, by the way, player reviews by position on the show, but I'm doing player reviews on Gaslamp Ball. And so some of these numbers are pretty fresh in my head. But the outs above average, the Baseball Savant, if you go look at Xander's Baseball Savant page, I was surprised with what I saw on the defensive side. I didn't think it was going to be terrible, but, and I'm going to double check this right now. 1 second. Waiting for this to load. So his outs above average was 88th percentile. So that's in the red. His base running wasn't bad either. Now, if you go look at the batting, there is a lot of blue. Barrel percentage, hard hit rate, bat speed, walk rate. But he doesn't whiff a lot. And squared up percentage, I'm not going to act like I know totally what that is, but I assume it's any ball that he makes contact with. Is it squared up or not? That's in the 90th percentile. So when he's making contact, it seems like it was good contact. But we do want to see a little bit more power from him, right? For me, I'm just waiting for him to be healthy. And then I think it'll be really fair to judge, okay, are we in trouble here or is it going to be good? Here is AJ Preller. This is the audio courtesy of 97.3 The Fan. He was asked what kind of priority extending Mike Shildt will be this offseason.
I think again, we just started. So, just started those conversations in terms of myself and sitting down with Eric Katzender and Eric Grubner and others. And, I think, again, we talk about getting people with ability and then having stability. And rewarding people that perform. So, I think from our standpoint, that's going to be something that we look to do here over the course of the next couple of weeks. Is try to see if we can line up with Mike and the coaching staff, and having a group that's shown that they can get results and did a good job with this group and the staff is, making sure that people feel rewarded and that we have some people that are together in that area and from a coaching standpoint that are able to come back and kind of build and grow on what we did this year. So again, starting those conversations, that's what the off season's for. But the motivation's there to try to see if we can line up and I know from Mike's standpoint, he obviously enjoys it here, wants to be here. But I know his focus also is just go get better. And if you do that, then I think he has a lot of trust and faith that things are, from an organization standpoint, that we'll figure some things out there.
All right. So there's AJ. So to me, not surprised with the responses today. I think that they're going to try. Ruben Niebla should be the priority, obviously, because his contract is up. And then if they don't get an extension done with Mike Shildt in the offseason, I still don't even think it's the end of the world because they could do it in spring training. I mean, we've seen players get extensions in spring. Why can't a manager get an extension in the spring? We've seen managers get an extension in season, so they have a good one in Mike Shildt. They also have a really good one in Ruben Niebla. And so it's really about timing, right? You may want both, but let's have priority straight here. And the guy whose contract is up in, I don't know totally if this is 100% accurate, but I think the contract is officially up at the end of October 31st. So let's try to get that done, in the next week and a half before he's a free agent and anyone can go get him. They could give him as much money as they want to. All right. Before getting to the chat, just want to shout out some of the great partners of the show. Gaglione Bros, famous cheesesteaks and garlic fries. Their main location is on Friars Road. They're inside Snapdragon Stadium. Check them out. The website, phone number, address, all that, link in the description. And by the way, at Snapdragon Stadium this weekend, San Diego State football will be back in action. They're going to be playing Washington State. Then I believe they go on the road to face off against Ashton Genty and Boise State, which will be obviously a very tough task. San Diego FC, by the way, now that we're talking about other San Diego sports, SDFC, and I'm just going to be talking about this for a couple of minutes here. SDFC, they did announce today that their first game is going to be during MLS opening weekend at the end of February. I think let me double check, the 22nd, 23rd, I think. Yeah, either Saturday or Sunday there against the LA Galaxy on the road. And then they'll come back that next Saturday, March 1st, 2025. That will be their first home match of SDFC's history. They're going to be facing off against St. Louis City. So that's what I've got there. The Wave lost last weekend. That sucked to watch. Kansas City, man, they're a good team. Lots of speed. But anyway, back to the partners of the show. Breaking Tea, Padres, Aztec shirts and sweatshirts. Click the link in the description there. I got a message from Breaking Tea last week, I think, a couple days ago maybe. Lots of people bought stuff during the postseason. So thank you for supporting them. And I hope that you guys wear that stuff proudly, you didn't just do it during the postseason run, but you're going to do it this offseason around San Diego or wherever you are, and you'll do it for years and years to come. And then Underdog, 50% deposit match up to $1,000. Click that link in the description for Underdog. Obviously, the Padres season is over, but there's a lot of other sports there. There's going to be obviously the World Series, which starts, Friday? Again, I'm not going to be locked into it. I know I'm a baseball fan, but I don't want to be locked into a Dodgers World Series. I'm just not going to. But I think it starts Friday, which it is weird. We're going to have, 4 days off here without baseball before Friday. And then SeatGeek, code Talking Friars, $20 off your first order there. Click the link in the description. All right, let's get to the chat here. Is a Juan Soto return possible? I don't think so. Yeah, Peter Seiler's not with us. AJ Preller mentions being responsible with payroll. The Yankees, they made it to the World Series this year. They're going to get a ton of revenue, obviously, from that. They already have a bunch of money. Soto, it seems like he does fit there. It seems like he loves it there. The Padres, with what happened with Jackson Merrill, him being, I know he's that's a different position, center field, but I like the Padres outfield situation right now. And if they weren't going to extend Soto, I don't think they were going to sign him in free agency. And now that he's with the Yankees, it really feels like it's going to be either New York team. The Mets coming off what they did, and they're going to just try to keep going, right, coming off this year. And the Yankees obviously going to the World Series. Seems like Soto really loves that organization. And but I don't think it's possible. I know it's AJ Preller, and we can say anything's possible, or don't say, it's not possible. But to me, that's like the closest where it's for me, the closest it feels like where, yeah, it's not possible. Would I rather have seen a New York versus New York World Series? Of course I would have, yeah. Because I don't want the Dodgers in the World Series. Oh, of course we got some Dodger fans in the chat here. No surprise there. Your team's in the World Series, and you're sitting here in a Padre chat. Yeah, the real NLCS, it felt like, was Padres Dodgers. I think we could have said that before Padres Dodgers, before that series even started, to be honest. I know we didn't know about the Phillies and what they were going to not do, but it still felt like Padres Dodgers, those were the two best teams. I know the Phillies, they have talent, but it's still, especially as the series went on, it was like, yeah, this feels really like the NLCS. The winner is going to make it to the World Series. And that's why it sucks that they had a 2-1 lead and wasn't able to do it. Felt like it was going to be the year until it wasn't. Yeah, Blake Snell, he's another guy that might be out there for sure. I think he has a player option for like 30 mil. If he declines that, I mean, I don't think he's taking 10 mil with the Padres. So they're going to still have to pay him to come back. But I think it's fair to say he'd like playing with the Padres again over being with the Giants. But that's just one man's opinion. Dave Roberts was the Padres coach in waiting. I wonder what he's doing now. What do you mean the Padres coach in waiting? He was on the coaching staff. I don't think they interviewed him for the manager job. So he was never in waiting for anything. I know he's in the World Series. Yeah. It would be nice to have Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts. Yeah, it would be nice to have that and that payroll, that amount of money and that TV deal. Yeah, it would be nice to have that too. Mike Shildt, I think, would do pretty darn well with that too. Devin says, I think the Padres' top priority should be acquiring 2 starting pitchers. Snell is almost a lock in to come back, but it depends on if the team wants to budge on the money Snell wants. Yeah, I would definitely not say he's a lock to come back because I think that's a question mark of how long does Snell want, how much per year, and are the Padres in a spot to do that? Because payroll-wise, they're not losing a ton of money off of the payroll, right? And you'd think that they'd want multiple starting pitchers, not just one. And you have the Profar situation. You have Higgy. Bullpen with Tanner Scott. Maybe they'd replace that with a cheap arm that may end up being really good that we don't know a ton about. But there's spots to still replace. It's not like the only hole here right now is just that one ace starting pitcher. Devin says, I don't know if Roki Sasaki is a realistic option, but if he is the best option in the market, I would take him. I would also like to bring Gary Sanchez back. He seemed to be very comfortable in San Diego. I'd bring him back maybe like as a backup if they don't bring Elias Diaz back and they don't really believe in Campy to be that backup. Campy did take a step back this year, stats wise. I don't know if they'd bring him in to be the starting catcher. Where Higgy, I feel like they're comfortable with that. Ray says, my guess is Luis Ariz mentioned trade because he knows the Padres will not give him a big contract extension. He saw what happened to Soto, Blake Snell. What I would say there, though, is Arise is not going to get as much money as maybe Snell wanted, or as much money, obviously, as Soto's going to get. Because Luis Arise, he is a contact hitter. You're not going to get nearly the contract that Juan Soto gets. You have to look at the ages as well. So I disagree there. I don't think any team would give him a big contract. You know what I'm saying? I don't think big. Now I don't know what that number is. Like what would be the realistic Luis Arraez contract? He's 27, so it's not like he's 32 or anything like that. But this isn't someone that you give like a, decade-long contract to, I wouldn't think. It might be more like 5 years. So we can't put Arise and Soto and Snell in the same category. Yeah, I believe Crony does have a no trade, and I don't think he would be traded anyway. Oh, that's right. Yep, that's right. Limited no trade clause. Ray says Jackson Merrill is a shortstop. Let's find an outfielder. I disagree there. I mean, I love Jackson Merrill in center field. And if you move Jackson Merrill to shortstop, then you just create another question mark. You can move Tatis to center, but then there's another question mark. Who's in right? You already have who's in left, with Profar being a free agent. I hope that he comes back, but never know. So, and with Preller's answer today, it seemed like no, they're sticking with the outfield as is. Merrill is going to be in center still. Tatis is going to be in right. I don't think you try to fix something that isn't broke. I like that outfield right now. Someone said Kike Hernandez will fit right in. I don't know if you're trolling as a Dodger fan, but wow. Yeah, that's a bad take. Dude hates the Padres. And it would feel like Justin Turner being a Padre. It just wouldn't feel right. Yeah, I'm good. Ben, can we have an episode on our financial restrictions? I'm sure there's going to be more written about that this offseason. And yes, I will. I don't know if it's a specific episode to only talk about that, but yeah, we're going to talk about that for sure in the offseason. Now, to be honest, I mean, we're not going to know exactly what the restrictions are because we're not in those meetings. Kevin AC, Dennis Lynn, they can do the best job that they can at getting information, but we saw, what was that, 2 years ago? Was it 2? I think it was the offseason they signed Bogarts, where I think Kevin said, yeah, they have like 25 mil, something like, or maybe less than that, of room probably this offseason. And then look what they did, right? So they do the best job they can, and even then it's still not accurate. So we're not going to totally know. I feel like, yeah, I see in the chat here about Max Fried, some starting pitching options here. I think that if the Padres do spend money, like serious money, it would be on pitching, on a starter. I know Max Fried's out there. There's actually a good amount of pitchers that baseball fans know that are free agents. Because the position player side, I mean, they could just bring back a lot of these guys. And there's a lot that are under contract, but I'm talking about free agents too. I could see them bringing back Higgy. I could see them bringing back Profar. I could see them bringing back Peralta and or Solano, to be honest. I don't know how much interest there's going to be in those guys. There'll be interest, but will it be Preller, he likes doing those 1 year with an option or 2 years with an option. Would he do that for Solano or Peralta? And maybe another team doesn't do that, and then they can come back to the Padres. I feel like we're going to have a lot of position players the same, and then it's going to be really the pitching where it's, oh, Padres are interested in this guy, in this guy. For me, that's what I'm looking at. Free agency with starting pitching. So we'll see there. All right, but that's going to do it here. Talking Friars episode 650. Just wanted to get on, give some thoughts on the Preller end of season presser. I hadn't done a show since the Padres were. Oh no, I did talk to John, but hadn't done just me as a show since the Padres got eliminated. Their season ended, obviously, on I think that was the 11th. Whatever, Game 5. A night we'd like to forget, but a couple of nights, but obviously we won't, and it's going to be probably a long off season. But hey, there's next year, and we can hope that the Dodgers don't win the World Series this year because that would suck.